Hello, students, boys and girls. So, I congratulate you all. You have graduated from grade 6 to grade 7. It is wonderful. And so, you will be learning so many new concepts in your grade 7. So, in science, you will be learning again about the new concepts as I've mentioned. And we will begin with fiber to fabric. Now, you'll be wondering, why again fiber to fabric? We have already done this in grade 6. Yes, in grade 6, you have done this, but you have done all about the natural fibers, that is fibers which we get from the plants. What are the fibers we get from the plants? The fibers are cotton and jute. Yes, we get cotton and jute from the plants. So in this chapter, we will be doing about the fibers we get from the animals. Okay, so we have already done about cotton and jute. We have done in detail about how cotton is obtained from the plants and how jute is obtained from the plants. So from the animals, what are the fibers we get from the animals? From the animals, we get silk and wool. This is what we are going to concentrate on, silk and wool. Camel hair also is there, but then again that is used as we use the silk and wool, but not so commonly used. So we are going to concentrate on silk and wool, how silk is produced and how wool is produced. Then there are other origins of fibers also, mineral origin, which is asbestos and glass. Then you have the synthetic fibers, which are man-made fibers. Okay, so this is the classification of fibers. Now, before we go to all the animal fibers, what is fiber? Fiber is the basic unit of any textile product. Yes. So what is fiber? Fiber is the basic unit of any textile product. What product? Textiles. We are talking about textiles, materials, textile product. It is the basic unit, fiber. From the fiber, we get what is it? Yarn. And from the yarn, it goes into fabric. And from the fabric, we get our lovely clothes which we wear. Yes, we buy the fabric or we get them, ready-made fabric, which is already stitched into clothes. And we all love to wear lovely clothes. Yes, so this is how it goes to fabric. Now, in this fiber category, we are going to see what are the fibers obtained from the animals. Okay. Okay. So now if we see wool, this is the first fiber which is obtained from the animals. So we are talking about wool. Wool is a fiber which is obtained from the animals. Now, which all animals can give us wool? We have, of course, sheep. Okay. Then we have goat wool, camel wool, yak wool, and alpaca wool also. All these animals, they give us wool, which is a fiber. Now, depending on the animal from which we get the fiber, wool, we can get the various types of wool known as Kashmiri wool, then Lalma wool, alpaca wool from the alpaca goat, then mohair, then we have camel wool, merino wool, then Angora. Angora is from the goats also, and from rabbits also you can get Angora wool. So these are the various types of wool. In lower classes, you must have learned only about, sheep and goat. But then there are other animals also which give wool, and that wool is used to make certain products. Okay. So, but then the variety will differ. So it will depend on which type of wool. So when you go and buy, woolen clothes, you will see that there is a range of price range will be there. So the wool which is very rough, if you see, the price will be low. But then the wool or the sweater or the shawls which you go to buy and which are very soft, and which are very silkish type. You feel so soft and so good when you hold them. So that wool is the pashmina wool. So that wool is very expensive. So all these animals, they give us wool, but then there is again variety. There are various varieties of wool. Okay, and the price also depends on these varieties. So wool yielding animals, they'll have hair on their body. What do they have? They have hair on their body, and the wool is derived from these hair fibers. You get the wool from these hair fibers. Now let us see how wool is produced. Okay, so fleece. Now you all must have heard of this word called fleece. Yes. What is fleece? Fleece, fibers that form fleece. Fleece is nothing but the hair we are talking about, hair of the outer covering of the hair of the animal. Okay, so that is known as the fleece. So this fleece is first cut. Now the fleece can be coarse, it can be, because we are talking about fleece is, what is we are talking about? We are talking about the hair variety. So this hair can be the fine variety hair also, or it can be the coarse, rough variety also. So fibers that form fleece, they can be coarse beard hair. So it will be very coarse and rough. And there can be fine, soft under the hair, close to the skin. So there can be two varieties of hair. If you see here in the picture, there's a sheep completely with hair. So we'll call it as fleece. It has a lot of fleece. Now this hair, the fleece is nothing but the hair. Now that hair can be, the outer hair can be rough, but the inner hair, towards the inner, the layers of hair, as we move inside while cutting, then the hair inside and close to the body of the sheep or the goat will be fine hair. So there can be two varieties of hair, the outer coarse hair and the inner soft hair close to the skin. So that fiber forms the fleece. So these fibers will form the fleece. We are talking about those hairs. The fine hair provide fibers for making wool. So wool is made from that fine hair. To get that fine hair, now not all animals will have a lot of that fine hair. So then we'll not get enough wool. So what happens is they do what is known as selective breeding. Selective breeding is they take the animals which have the fine hair. Like if you see, if I give an example, a simple example, all of us have different hair textures. Yes, the hair we have, some have long hair, some have short hair, some have curly hair, some have, colored hair by birth. So, and then some have, the hair is very rough and we try to oil hair and then make it very smooth. Some have very soft and silky hair by birth, babies. So the hair depends from person to person. Similarly, here from animal to animal, again, the hair can be rough hair or more of rough hair, less of the smooth hair, more of the rough or coarse hair and less of the fine hair. So some animals have more of this fine hair. So what is done is selective breeding is done. So they take animals which have this fine hair, because we want this fine hair for the wool. So this fine hair animals are taken and they are mated, and so what happens is the offspring, the babies which are produced, the produce will have, again, all will have fine hair. So that's known as selective breeding. Okay, so selective breeding is done to develop fine hair only because we want all the animals which are reared to have fine hair so that we can get more of wool. So this is what is done, that is selective breeding. So fibers that form the fleece can be the coarse beard hair or the fine soft hair, which is close to the skin. Okay. Okay. Now let's see how is the rearing and breeding of sheep. Now for getting wool, now I cannot have just one sheep and say I'm going to have a woolen factory which will produce wool. I should have a complete breed. Okay, so rearing. So rearing is getting, or we are just like we grow plants, cotton plants are grown as a crop. Similarly, rearing is we are bringing up, we are ensuring that we have all the animals which produce wool at one place. They are being, the farmer or the shepherd is ensuring that he has enough sheep or enough goats which will produce wool. Okay, so now rearing and breeding of sheep. The sheep are herbivorous. What is herbivorous? Herbivorous is plants which, yes, plants which eat, or animals which eat only plants. They are not meat eating. So sheep are herbivores and they prefer grass and leaves. That is their diet. They take grass and leaves. Then apart from grazing sheep, rearers also feed them on a mixture of pulses, corn, jowar, oil cakes. All these are also fed. Rearers are the shepherds we're talking about, or the people who rear, who bring up, or who are owning. They buy sheep and then they ensure that the sheep grow well, and then once they are mature and all, they can get the wool from the sheep or the goats. Okay, so apart from the grazing sheep, that is apart from having the vegetarian leaves and grass, the sheep and goats, they're also fed with pulses, corn, jowar, oil cakes and all, and minerals also, so that the when oil and all is given, the texture of the wool will be very good, the texture of the hair on the sheep will be very good, the fleece will be very good. So once the fleece is very good, then the wool which will be produced also will be very nice, soft and smooth. In winter, sheep are kept indoors. Now in winters, nothing is done, because the hair which is present on the sheep and the goats, what does it do? It helps to it helps them to keep them warm. Okay, because of that hair on the body, the sheep in the cold areas, actually you find all these sheep, if you'll find them in Uttarakhand, which is again a very cold place. Then in Jammu and Kashmir, again cold areas. So in winters it is very, very cold over there. It even snows, there is snowfall. So during the winters, the sheep are kept indoors, and this thick hair which they have, the fleece which they have on their bodies, that protects them from the cold. And in summers, in the hot weather, the fleece is shaven. Okay, the fleece is cut, not in the winters. So winters, sheep are kept indoors and fed on the leaves and grain and dry fodder. Sheep are reared in many parts of our country for the wool. Yes, as I told you, in Uttarakhand and in Jammu and Kashmir. So if you get a chance to go to, those places, visit those places, you can really see the sheep around, when they go for grazing and all during because generally visitors go during the summer months. So during summer months, you can see the sheep with a lot of fleece and lot of hair, and you can even visit those places where the fleece is removed and the wool is made. So those places also can be visited. So this is how the rearing and breeding of sheep is done. Okay. Okay. Now we go to processing of fiber into wool. Now what has happened? We have got the fiber. Okay. We have not got the wool. We can get the fiber from the fleece of the sheep or the goat. We are talking about sheep, so let us concentrate on sheep. Okay, the fleece of sheep, which can have the outer coarse hair and the inner fine hair. So the processing of fiber into wool. Now that is the fiber we have got. Fiber into the fleece, the fiber. Now that fiber, how is that? What is done to the fiber? That fiber or the fleece is first shaped. So there are various steps. So from fiber into wool can be represented by, so the first step is shearing, then is scouring, then is sorting, then cleaning of burrs, then is dyeing, and then is rolling. So this is number 1, 2, third step. Then this is the fourth step. Dyeing is the fifth step, and sixth is rolling. So step 1, we'll see these steps in detail. Okay. So the step 1 is shearing. What is shearing? Shearing is nothing but cutting the fleece, cutting the hair. Just like, you know, you all go to the girls will go to the beauty salons, beauty parlors to get a haircut, and boys, they go to the barbers. So just like the barber cuts the hair, and then gives it a nice haircut. Similarly, here also the shepherds or the rearers who are rearing the sheep will do or cut the fleece of the sheep. Okay, so this process is known as shearing. The fleece of the sheep along with a thin layer of skin is removed from its body. Now, this process of removing the fleece from the body of the sheep is known as shearing. Okay, process of removing the fleece. Now, what does the fleece have? Fleece has fibers. Removing the fleece from the surface of the body of the sheep is known as shearing. So once it is removed, a little, of course, skin also will be removed, but the sheep is not hurt. They're not hurting the sheep. The sheep will not scream or cry and all. No, it is just like a haircut. Like humans have a haircut. Similarly, the sheep also here are having a haircut, but their hair is very thick and the layer is very thick. So they will, a little of the skin also comes out because the fine hair also needs to be removed. So this is known as shearing. Then machines are used for shearing. So just like the barber also uses machines these days, although scissors and comb is also used, but then machines are also very common. And it is done during the hot weather. Very, very important is this is not done during the winters. This will be done only during the summers. The reason being, in winters, this is the hair which is protecting them from the cold weather. Okay. Then step 2. Now, step 1 is shearing. So the sheep has the hair, the fleece of the sheep has been removed from the sheep. Okay. Now, what is done with that fleece? What will be done with the hair? The second step is souring. What is souring? Scouring. Okay, this is S-C-O-U-R-I-N-G, scouring. So what is scouring? The sheared skin with the hair is thoroughly washed in tanks. Now we know sheep, the hair, it's very dirty. It will not be very clean. Suppose with the same hair, the wool is made and it comes to the market. Will anybody buy that stinking wool? Nobody will buy. So first that has to be cleaned. So the sheared skin, the sheared hair, the sheared fleece. Okay, the skin with the hair, because a little skin also we've learned that a little skin also comes out. So that skin along with that lot of hair, the fleece, is thoroughly washed in tanks to remove the grease, dust and dirt. There'll be a lot of grease, dust and dirt because they are not sitting indoors all the time. They are going out for grazing. They are, sitting in places where there is a lot of dust and dirt also. So their outer body or the fleece has a lot of dust and dirt. So all this needs to be washed in tanks. So washed. So this is washed in tanks to remove the grease, dust and dirt. This is known as scouring. So first step was shearing, is shaving of the hair or removing the hair from the fleece from the body of the sheep. Second step was scouring. Scouring is where the hair or the fleece which was removed is washed nicely in tanks with water so that all the dust, grease and dirt can be removed. Okay. Now let's see what is the next third step. Third step is sorting. Now, what is sorting? As the name indicates, sorting is after scouring, sorting is done. So the hairy skin is sent to a factory where hair of different textures are separated or sorted. Sorting out. They are separating. The hair with fine texture is separated from the hair with uh, the rough hair. Okay, so this way the sorting is done. After scoring, sorting is done. The hairy skin is sent to a factory where the hair of different textures will be separated. So the thin hair, the fine hair, or the fine hair will be separated from the coarse hair. Okay, so this way sorting is done. Then we go to step 4. What is the step 4? Cleaning of burrs. Now you all must have also, experienced this. When the sweaters are new, it's okay. But once we wash them, or, we've washed them several times and all, you'll find some small balls type, on the sweaters or the woolen clothes. So those are known as the burrs. So now these burrs, now in the fiber, in that hair of the sheep also, there will be these burrs. So these burrs have to be removed. So the small fluffy fibers called burrs are picked out from the hair. So if the hair is very long, there'll be some burrs here like this. So these burrs are again removed from the hair. So these are the same burrs which appear on our sweaters. Okay, and the fibers are scored again and dried. Once these sorting is done, then the burrs are removed and again they are washed in tanks of water and they are dried. Very important. They are then dried. This is the wool ready to be drawn into fibers. So now we have got the wool which can be drawn into fibers. Okay. So till now what has been done? First was shearing. Shearing is cutting of the fleece from the body of the sheep. Second was scouring. Scouring is washing of that fleece nicely, the hair along with the little skin in lot of water to remove the dust, grease and the dirt. Then third was sorting. Sorting is after scouring, the fibers, they are sorted out into thin fibers or the coarse fibers in factories. Then after that, cleaning of the burrs. Now these fibers, again, the hair, we're talking about the hair will have some small fluffy balls. That means the fiber or the hair is not very smooth. These fluffy balls need to be removed. They are known as burrs. So they are the cleaning of the burrs is done. And after that, again, scouring is done. That is the hair, the fibers are again washed nicely. The sorted out fibers are again washed nicely and they are dried. Then step 5 is dyeing. Now we know that sheep, either black or white, okay, or maybe brown also, we'll get only 3 colors. But then how is it that we get wool of, red, blue, pink, multicolored, magenta, then you get light blue, dark blue, then ink blue, then violet, purple, so many colors. How do we get so many colors of the wool if the sheep are either black or white or only, maybe brown? So we can get that by dyeing. So dyeing is the fibers can be dyed into various colors. Now in the 4th step, after the 4th step, we've got the woolen fibers. Now these fibers are dyed into whichever color is required, various colors, as the natural fleece of sheep is black, brown or only white in color. Then after that is the 6th step, which is rolling. The fibers are straightened. Now the fleece or the hair, even if you see, the hair may not be very straight. The fiber will not be very straight. So the fibers are straightened, they are combed, just like we comb our hair, nicely. If I don't comb my hair for, even one day actually, but then if I say 2-3 days, what happens? You'll find that there'll be a lot of you'll find that when I'm combing next, the comb gets stuck in the hair because I've not combed it for some time. To straighten that, what do? I have to regularly comb my hair. That's why I said comb your hair regularly. So here also fibers are being straightened. They are combed and they're rolled into yarn. So the fiber has changed into yarn. Fiber is converted into yarn. So the wool fiber is converted into yarn now. After the fibers are straightened, they are combed, they are, and then rolled into yarn. Then the longer fibers are made into wool for sweaters and all this is used, the longer fibers, and the shorter fibers are spun in woven into woolen cloth. So the long fibers, they are used to make wool for knitting the sweaters and all. Okay, and the short fibers. So the short fibers, it is not that they're short, so they waste it. No, the short fibers are again spun and woven into woolen cloth. So wool, when I say wool material, we're not talking only about sweaters, or woolen clothes. We also have woolen cloth material, fabric, woolen cloth fabric. So how is that made? That is made with the short fibers, which are spun into woolen cloth. And the long fibers, so the long fibers we have into wool for sweaters, okay, or woolen. And the short fibers, they are used or they're spun into for woolen cloth. Okay, cloth material. So these Raymonds and all which you have, Raymond's, very well known company for woolen outfits. So they use this woolen cloth a lot. So when you go to the shop, you can see that there is this woolen cloth and they have used the short fibers which have been obtained, which have been, processed from the fleece of the sheep, and they are made into woolen cloths. Okay, so these are the 6 steps for changing the fiber or changing the fleece of the sheep into wool. So it is not that I just have a sheep at home and then I remove the the hair of the sheep and that is wool. No, that is not wool. There is a lot, all the 6 steps have to be done and processed so that we get the wool from that fiber. Okay, so first step was shearing. Second step is scouring, where the shed hair of the sheep is washed nicely in lot of water so that the dust, dirt, and oil, grease can be removed. Then the third step is sorting of the fleece or the fibers into the soft or the finer fibers and the coarse fiber. And then the fourth step is cleaning of the burrs. Now there would be fluffy balls on these fibers, so they have to be removed because we want smooth fibers, fine. Okay, so that cleaning of the burrs is done. And then the step 5 is dyeing. So various colors are added to the fiber so that we can get wool of various colors. Then step 6 is rolling, where the fibers are straightened, they are combed, and they are rolled into yarn. And that yarn, the longer fibers, the yarn is used to make wool for which is used for making sweaters and woolen wear, and the short fibers are used to make the fabric, woolen fabric. Okay, so this is how from wool, from the fiber we get the wool. Clear? Yes, so you should know all the steps, very important. So if you see here, let us see the pictures and we can really enjoy and understand better too. So here you see the sheep are ready to remove the fleece. Now what is this man doing? He's cutting the fleece. This is the machine he's using. The machine to cut the fleece on the sheep. Okay, then after this, this means what is happening here? Shearing. This is the first step. After shearing, the fleece is baled and transported to the mill. And so now the fleece here, if they have, the mill or the factory, as I said, they will send this rearer who is rearing all the sheep, will do the shearing part and will send the fleece in the form of bales into the mill. There, the second step takes place, which is scouring. Okay, scouring is washing of this fleece. Fleece is washed to remove the dirt. Then after that, what is done? The sheet is twisted into a rope called silver. Now this, they've got a sheet of the, after scoring the fibers of wool in the form of a sheet. Now the sheet is twisted into a rope called silver. You see, in this way it is. Then the silver is stretched and twisted into yarn. Okay. Then carding machine combs the loose. There is a machine called carding machine which combs the loose wool fibers into a sheet. So it can be, so it does not have to be done by manually, but then it can be done using a carding machine. So this sheet, this twisted rope, it is called as the silver. Now this silver is again stretched and twisted, and it is produced into this yarn, and then from the yarn wound into balls. So here after scoring, again, they do the sorting and all is done. It is understood that sorting is done. This is again the final part of it. So in between you will have the sorting, then cleaning of the burrs is done, and then dyeing is also done, and finally it is rolling. This rolling is done here, and then the yarn is produced over here. Okay. So this is how the fiber is converted into wool or fiber. From the fiber we get the wool. Okay. Interesting? Yes. So that was about wool. Now we will talk about another animal fiber, which is silk. So silk, as you all know, you all are familiar with silk. You all have been using silk. We all, especially, for festive occasions and all, we use a lot of silk. Yes, silk kurtas, then silk dresses, silk saris. So these days, even, for festivals and all, you can see people having or decorating their houses inside with silk curtains, silk cushion covers. So a lot of silk being used. Of course, silk is very expensive also as compared to the other fabrics. Yes, cotton, jute, or you take even wool, but silk will be very expensive. We'll get to know why silk is so expensive. Because silk is, number one, produced by silkworms. Yes, and rearing of silkworms is a very expensive. Rearing of silkworms is very, very expensive. So silk is also very expensive. Now, silk fibers are also animal fibers. This you all know. Yes, silkworms. Now, silkworms, we get silk from the silkworms. They spin the silk fibers. So silkworms are spinning the silk fibers. How interesting. Yes, silkworm. That's why it's called also silkworm. It's named silkworm because it is spinning or it is giving silk fibers. Then the rearing of silkworms is called as sericulture. The rearing of silkworms, it is done. It can be done even at home. Silkworms, it is known as sericulture. So the silk yarn or the thread is obtained from the cocoon of the silk moth. So where is the silk yarn or the thread obtained from? It is obtained from the cocoon. This is called cocoon of the silk moths. There's a variety of silk moths which look very different from one another. The silk moths again. See, if you have heard, silk also, there are a number of varieties of silk. There will be Banarasi silk, there will be South silk, then there is, we call as Moga silk from the East. So how is it that there are so many varieties of silk? Because there are a number of varieties of these silk moths from which we are getting the silk. So there are a number of varieties of silk also, which look very different from one another, and the silk yarn they yield is different in texture. The texture of the silk yarn will be very different. That's why their varieties are different, their prices are different, and the places where you get also are different. So a particular silk moth, a particular silk worm is reared in those places. For example, if you go to the east, Manipur and all, that silk which you get, the Moga silk. So that silkworm which they are rearing is different from the Banarasi silk. You know, in UP, the silk which is produced in Banaras. So that silk is different because the silkworm which they are rearing is different. The silk moth which comes out will be different. So the silk fiber will be different. And of course, the quality, if you see, there will be a difference in the quality of all of them appear like silk, but then their quality will be, some will be very fine, some may not be very fine, some may have some other qualities in them, you know. So that is how it is also priced. So the price also varies, the cost will vary. So if you have heard of Kanjivaram silk from the south, you know, Kanjivaram is a very fine silk of the south. So those silkworms which are reared are again they typical to the south. So you have Tussar silk, Moga silk, Kosa silk. So that's how you get so many varieties of silk. So now you understand, right? How you that silk looks wise, they all look alike. But then why are they given so many names? They are given so many names because they are reared in a or reared from different silkworms. Okay, they are obtained from the cocoon spun by different moths, types of moths. Worms are reared and then they give the silk moth. Okay, moth comes out. Then the most common silk moth is the mulberry silk moth. The most common one is the mulberry silk moth. Then the silk fiber from the cocoon of this moth is soft, lustrous and elastic and can be dyed in beautiful colors. So this will be very expensive. The mulberry silk moth, the silk obtained from the mulberry silk moth will be very expensive, as if you see all the qualities, you know, it's very soft, it's lustrous, it shines, and then it is elastic also. So it is not very stiff. Some silks, you know, silk materials, if you see, they're very stiff. But then because this is very elastic, very soft, very smooth, very lustrous, so definitely the price of this mulberry silk will be very expensive. Okay, so this way there can be varieties of silk depending upon the silk moth from which it is reared, from which it is obtained. Okay. Now we will see what is the life cycle of a silkworm. Okay. So here we are talking about the adult moths. First stage is the adult moths. They mate with each other and then they give a lot of eggs. Eggs are produced. Okay. Egg stage. Then from the eggs, the caterpillar, it is feeding on the mulberry leaf. Now these silkworms, they will feed on the mulberry leaves, only on mulberry leaves. And these eggs, they are all laid on the mulberry leaves and they're feeding on the mulberry leaves. The caterpillar feeds and grows bigger and it becomes or comes to the larva stage. This is the second stage, egg to the larva. Just like in a butterfly, all the life cycle of butterfly, all the stages, this also silkworm will also have all these stages, egg to the larva stage. If you see in the larva stage, in the larva stage, again, they are continuously feeding on the mulberry leaf. Okay, they don't come out of it. Then the caterpillar spins in the larva. From the larva, the caterpillars are seen. Then the caterpillar spins a cocoon of silk threads around itself. So in this stage, what is happening? The larva and then the caterpillar. So this caterpillar, what does it do? It will start spinning like this. This is the silk thread, a cocoon of silk threads. It is called a cocoon. It's given a special name, a cocoon, closed structure, a cocoon of silk thread around itself. Okay. Then when you open and see inside the cocoon, the caterpillar changes into a pupa. This is the pupa. It has changed into a pupa inside the cocoon. Now outside that cocoon is nothing but completely silk fibers, and inside there is the pupa. Okay. So this is how it looks if you open the cocoon and see. Then this pupa. Now people unwind the silk thread from the cocoons to weave into silk cloth. So this is the silk cloth which we are getting. And this cocoon, the pupa changes into moth. The moth comes out of the cocoon. So if you see here, this complete outer covering is the silk thread. Yes. And here we have, this is the moth which is coming out. Okay. So this is how the complete life cycle. Again, this moth will grow into an adult, and then again mating, and again eggs are given out. So this is how the complete silk worm, which we are talking about, silk worms, which are reared, they complete this life cycle, and then we get the silk fiber. So the silk fiber is produced at the cocoon stage. So the cocoon stage is where the larva is growing into a caterpillar, and when it is growing, it will form a cocoon of silk thread around itself. Okay, it wraps itself. Just like you all love to eat Frankies and all, no? Which is wrapped. So that way, the cocoon also, the caterpillar will wrap itself with a cocoon of silk thread, but it is of silk thread. Now that silk thread is what we are interested in. So inside the animal is growing. Okay, the caterpillar changes into the pupa stage, then the pupa, from the pupa stage, it becomes an adult moth. But then the outside cocoon, which has got the silk fibers, is what we are interested in. Okay. So this is the complete life cycle till we get the silk. Now cocoon to silk. So whatever we have seen, let us again see. So for obtaining silk, moths are reared and their cocoons are collected to get silk threads. So you all know now. From where do we get the silk fiber? We get it from the silk worm. So silk worm, we are talking about the silk moth. The male moth and the female moth, mating is done, and then they produce a number of eggs. See, the eggs are in, you know, they are in large numbers, and not all of them may form cocoons or again go to the adult stage. But then because they produce a number of eggs, most of them they turn into they do give silk fibers. Okay, silk moths, they are reared and their cocoons are collected to get silk threads. So rearing of silkworms. Now how is this done? A male silk moth lays, okay, hundreds of eggs at a time. Then these eggs are, so first is laying of the eggs. Then the eggs are stored carefully on strips of cloth or paper and sold to silkworm farmers. Now these eggs, once the eggs are laid, they are not left for them to form cocoons on their own, because rearing is being done. So the farmer is growing them. Rearing is growing an animal. Okay, so the eggs are stored carefully on strips of cloth or paper. These eggs are and then they're sold to the silkworm farmers. Okay, then what do the farmers do? So this was, first was eggs. The moths lay the eggs, then the eggs are stored and then they're sold to the silkworm farmers. Third is the farmers, they keep the eggs under hygienic conditions, very important, and then under suitable conditions of temperature and humidity also. Because if they're not, either they're kept in very cold areas or very hot areas, then definitely the eggs will die. The eggs will not survive. Yes, but then the silk worm farmers, what do they want? Those farmers, they want to get the silk fibers from these eggs. So they have to look after the eggs very well, proper temperature, proper, the humidity conditions have to be proper. Should not be very humid or less humid or very dry weather. No, the proper conditions and very hygienic conditions have to be provided to these eggs. Then the eggs are warmed. Fourth step is the eggs are warmed to a suitable temperature for the larva to hatch from the eggs. So all this is done manually. It is not left to nature that, okay, fine, the eggs, somehow they'll reach the mulberry leaf and then they will start feeding and they will form cocoons. Then once the cocoon stage comes, then I will go near the mulberry plant and take out the silk fiber. Then I will not get any silk fiber. So what if I am a silk farmer? If I want silk fibers, if I want to do business in that, I need to rear these silkworms. So what is done is the rearing of silkworms is, once I get the eggs, I buy the eggs. Buying only, it is, I have to buy the eggs. Somebody will not just give me the eggs for free. So I buy the eggs and I have to ensure that the eggs are kept in proper hygienic conditions at proper temperature. And then after that, the eggs are warmed to a suitable temperature. The next step is they're warmed to a suitable temperature for the larva to hatch from the eggs. This is done when the mulberry trees bear a fresh crop of leaves. Now, because larva of the silkworm, where do they get the food from? From the mulberry leaves. Now, if there are no mulberry leaves, if there is, then how will they grow? They will not grow at all. So this process is done when the mulberry trees bear a fresh crop. When they get a fresh crop, what happens? The green leaves are there. There will be number of leaves. So then it will be enough for all the larvae to, okay. Then the larva called caterpillars, or then the fifth step is the larva called caterpillars or silkworms. They eat day and night. They'll keep eating the mulberry leaf. Okay. And they will increase in size. They grow because they're eating fresh mulberry leaves. They'll grow in size. Now this larva called caterpillars, they are called the silkworms. The caterpillars, they are known as the silkworms. So, okay, they eat day and night, they grow in size. Then what happens once they grow in size? Once they've grown in size, they will change into a pupa. Okay, and when they are growing in size, they will start forming the cocoon of silk fiber around them. And inside, the pupa is growing. Okay. Okay. So if you see here, this is how the mulberry leaves are given. So this person is rearing the silkworms. Yes. So if you see here, these are the mulberry leaves and these are all the larvae. So they are eating the mulberry leaves and they are growing. Once they have grown this way, they'll form into the complete cocoon. This is all the silk fiber. Okay. Now these cocoons are again taken into the mills or the factories, and there the silk thread is obtained from these cocoons. So this is how the complete process takes place. Okay. So the silk fibers are again, they'll be again dyed and all, because again colors are required for them. So dyeing also is done of the silk fibers, and then it is also either spun into, the yarn is used as silk thread, and from the silk thread again it is weaved into a cloth, or weaved into, saris and all are weaved from that silk cloth, silk thread. So this is how it is. When you see the cocoon, it is white. The silk is white in color. So, but then we see a number of colors, right? So then again, dyeing is done for these silk threads. So this is how silk is obtained from the fiber, from the silk moth. So the silk moth gives the silk. Okay. So what were the stages which we had seen? We had seen that the silk fiber, the male and the female, they mate, they give eggs, and these eggs, they are sold to the farmer. Okay, whoever is rearing the silkworm. Okay, so these eggs are again kept in proper hygienic conditions by the farmer. stored well, and then after that they are when the mulberry tree is actually blooming, then it gives out new leaves and all. So then during that time, the farmer, what he does, he puts all these eggs onto those mulberry leaves. Then the eggs, they start growing because they're continuously eating, and they grow into a very good size. And after the larva stage, they start forming a cocoon around themselves by producing the silk thread. When they are growing in size, they form these cocoons. Okay, inside the cocoon is the pupa. The larva has gone into the pupa stage. Okay, the caterpillar silkworm goes into pupa stage, and then from the pupa, it grows further into the moth. So again, the life cycle begins. So this is how. So man, as a silkworm farmer, will be interested in these cocoons. Okay, so once the cocoon and the moth has grown, it will come out of the cocoon, and the cocoon can be used to get the silk fibers. Now these cocoons are again washed in water, and they are sent to the factories where the thread from the cocoon, they straighten the silk fiber and make it into yarn. That yarn is again converted, or it is spun into fabric. Okay, and it can, before that, it can be dyed into various colors, and then it is spun into fabric or weaved into various dress materials or saris. Weaving also can be done. Silk thread is used. Okay, so this is how the animals fibers of wool and silk are produced from the animals. So directly we do not get anything. See here, if you see wool, it was slightly easier for the farmer to get wool from the sheep. Yes, the complete process. But silk, if you see, it was slightly complicated process. And the time also, it takes time for the for rearing of silkworms, for the eggs to grow into larva, larva to pupa, pupa into the cocoon, and then the moth stage. So you see that time also is a longer time, plus the mulberry, it feeds only on mulberry leaves. So again, a farmer who is actually rearing silkworms should also have the mulberry produce, which is again little expensive. So that's the reason silk is more expensive as a fiber rather than cotton or jute or wool. Okay, interesting, isn't it? So next time when you can go to a factory where they are rearing silkworms, and then just get to see all this. So for a field trip, you can ask your teachers to take you to a silk factory where you can see the weaving and the dyeing also, because already you know how the silk thread is produced. And if you can visit a mill or a factory where the silkworms are being reared, that will be really very good. Okay, yes. So in this chapter, you have learnt about the fiber to fabric, but then it was about how we get the wool from the sheep and goats, and we have also seen how we get the silk from the silkworm or the silk moth, right? So read the chapter very well so that you can answer any question related to the topic. So interesting. You all like the chapter? Okay. So I'll see you in the next topic. Till then, this is Usha Mangipudi signing